Hello everyone, and welcome back. I guess this is the true part one of the guest house. Today what I did, the last video when we kind of transitioned between mobile home restoration to building a little guest house, Melissa and I measured, and I got the measurement from the shop so that we have equal distance there. And today what I did is I measured it out. It's going to be 22 and I made it 32. It was going to be 30, but I decided to go 32 and got these two sides, or actually just the one corner is all you really need to set it first. Then measured out here to make sure that was exact. And then I want this to be perfectly square or we're going to be fighting it the whole way up. Nothing worse than an unsquare foundation. So then what you do is you crisscross your tape. You take it from this corner right here, crisscross it all the way back to the back corner, and then do the same from that front corner to that back corner, and these two stay the same because that was already measured from the building to it on both sides. I got my 32 feet, but those you move, like if you have to move them back or forward, they would move equally, but it has to be the exact same measurement, then we're square. So anyway, that part got done. Then I went around here and I did some little test digs. Like this one here I dug, and this is the foundation for the old milk house. And I did the same thing here, didn't hit anything. We're still doing good. I haven't done the corners. I don't think we'll have any trouble with the corners, but there's something else I need to do before I do that and pull the string. Did another one over here. This one gets kind of close to the foundation, but I'll be putting a 6x6 in, and I do have about 6.5 or 7 inches here, so we should be okay there. On this side here now, I ran into a little bit of trouble. When we're building something like this, on the load sides of this, which will be that side and this side, code has it that with a double member, it would act like a header, but this is like a double member rim joist. I can go 10 feet between the posts. It doesn't have to be 10 foot on center, but no more than 10 feet if I have a double. I couldn't do that over here because there is a foundation which is right there. The building foundation is back there about 3 feet, but this building, when it was originally up, had 2 pillars that went up here. The door was right there. I don't know if these pillars went up and there was a little shed roof over here, you know, kind of keeping the rain out or whatever. But anyway, I can't, unless I pull that out, I can't go there. So I had to move this one back a little bit. And then what I did, and it worked out, I just went right along the side here. So this one is well under the 10'8", but these two over here now are to about 11'8", or whatever it ended up being. So here, since it's over the 10-foot max, for these two sections, I will have to triple my rim or make a triple header, which is going to be up here for that floor to hang on. And I mean, there's no inspections here, so I don't have to follow code, but this is what I've done my whole entire life. And I always, we would build these humongous houses or even just a little deck, it's always your goal to beat the inspector. Because on some of those big houses in some of those cities, it's not so much now, but back then there were inspectors that would purposely try to find anything wrong. My dad said back when he was building and stuff, he said there were times when he would get these real bad inspectors, for lack of the word that he used, and he said he would purposely leave something wrong just so the inspector could find it, so he would get off his back and, oh, I found something good, I can go. So anyway, I don't have to deal with any of that, but I'm still going to build this thing up to code because I just think that's the right way to do it. So we've got the shorter space here, then it gets longer. You can see right here is the other hole in there where that foundation was, where the pillar was. And then I can also tell that this building was not square with the workshop. It was off probably a foot, but we're going to stay square so I have an even space between the two buildings. So like I said, I just moved this one over here and just did an equal amount between these two so I can get by, stay well under the 12 feet for the triple, and everything will be all right. And now I've got this center one, and that is a whole nother problem here, but I do need this for sure. So this line is 11 feet, dead center. I'll put 12-foot joists. They can cross in the center here. So all of the outside beams are going to be flush. So all of my joists will butt into them and they'll have a joist hanger, which is good because I've got boxes of joist hangers in there that have been collected for whatever, and you can't do anything with them, so it's nice to have somewhere where I can finally use them. But in the center here, this one I want to drop. You can run it up flush and butt them all in, but you end up having, you've got to be real careful because it's easy to get a hump in it or a dip in it. It's just much easier if I can drop it down and then plus just for installing them. I only have to put hangers on the one side. This just sits on top of the beam. It's just a lot nicer. So we are going to be up, I'm going to be up about 2 feet off the ground to the bottom there, and it's going to be more over on this side. I want to, if I have to, be able to crawl underneath here. And we'll put a porch on the front. I'll do a 6-foot porch. I'm not going to worry about that this year. I'll put the headers in so the trusses can go out that far, get the roof on it, just put an angle to hold that. And then next year I will go, because this is going to run right up to deer hunting, and then I'm going to be deer hunting, and then everything's going to be frozen, and I'll be working inside. So I'll just put an angle, get that up so the roof is there, and we'll just worry about that next year. But this here, remember, this was a milk house. This has a concrete floor in most of it. It's concrete, then it drops down and dips because they would have run the manure out. And so where these 2 posts are going to go, I'm going to have to get a jackhammer and jackhammer that cement out so I can get down. And some people might think, well, there's a cement slab. Why don't you just put your 6x6 right down on that cement and then just go over the top? You already have like a footing. But that doesn't work in Minnesota because when things freeze, they expand. So this thing might come up 2 inches in the wintertime, and then I'm going to have a floor that was nice and flat, and all of a sudden I'm going to have a huge hump in it, and that's really going to make me mad. It's going to crack the sheetrock. It's going to make a mess of the floor. So I definitely need to get down and get footing so I'm on ground that does not freeze. It's not going to move. So once this foundation is in, you know, I know I'm good for the whole rest of the project. I'm just going to show you this as kind of an example. This is in the workshop underneath the workbench, and you see the crack on the concrete right there? In the wintertime, it freezes, and in here it really never, I mean, it still stays around that 30 to 32, but anyway, it gets really cold outside. And it all the way back in here, all the way even to here, this heaves up to about here. It's really weird because that ground freezes and this piece is kind of more free floating. The cold must follow something in there and it'll come up about this high, and it ends up even pushing that up. So I've got a hump in the actual work bench area here, and over here, the door, it was really weird because it humps up so far in that cold gets underneath there that the door on this side was like this much of a gap, and then this one was higher. So it was really strange, but anyway, then when the spring comes, everything thaws out, it all goes back down, and now it's just like I said, it's just perfect right there. So that is why it's so important that I get the foundation done correctly, get those footings in the middle, everything down the correct depth. And I mean, I've said it 100 times, when you're any project that you're doing, once you get the foundation done, like for this project here, once I get the footings in, joists on, everything insulated underneath there, and get that plywood on so I can build walls, this project is almost done. That's the hardest part of the whole thing. It really is. So this is where all the thought has to go in. You got to make sure everything's right, and everything else will just fall into place. So when I do this project, I'm going to try to kind of do it as a how-to. Like when I'm laying out the walls, I'll show you why I do it the way it's done that way. But I'm also running against time. Winter time is coming, that's the big one. But let's see, in 19 days they're going to come and put that boiler in here. I really need to get this deck done so they have somewhere to run that line to come up against, because I just got a hold of them today and said, let's go with it. But we're not going to put a furnace in here. There will be one in here. So they need to be able to run those lines up here, and I would rather they could do as much as they can. I don't care if I have to hook up the furnace or whatever, but I do want the lines run and in and fastened or whatever. So I got a lot of stuff to do. I really do. So what I'm doing right now is with these strings, works really good, shows me exactly where everything's going to be, but I can't dig a hole with the string here and the pole in there. So what I do, I'm doing these offset 2 feet, and I'll drive these into the ground like so. Once I pull these, get my hole dug, because my hole is going to be, you know, neck deep, this big around on the bottom. Put my 6x, put the concrete down there so I get a nice pad, drop my 6x6 in there, and then I know that I have to measure here 24 inches and here 24 inches to get to that corner. That'll get me real close, set the thing, then I can go ahead and square everything and then go ahead and really pack it in good. If you're digging a foundation, like you got a big a track hole or backhoe coming in here, sometimes they'll do these 6 and 8 feet apart.
Where's the trap for?
Well, everything is marked out, but I have this is the corner of the 6x6. To dig the hole, I got to get rid of that. So then when I dig the hole and I set the 6x6, I measure 2 foot and 2 foot, and I know right where it's at. Otherwise, all that work of squaring it was for nothing, you know. So, yeah, not so big of a deal on the center ones. I can move them, do the corners first. Yesterday I was out here and then Melissa came around and then we went out and picked blueberries and then went way to the back of the property and there's a patch back there that was full of blueberries, so we picked until dark. And now I'm out here this morning. I went ahead and where we had this marked with the string, you know, that's not the center of the post, so I come in 2 3/4 inches and put a stake in on every one of these, so now I can start digging these holes. The most unfun part of the whole entire thing. The only good thing I have to say about having to dig 12 holes is that the soil here is fairly sandy. It could be worse. It could be that thick gumbo clay. I've done that enough times. I would have been out here earlier, but it was raining out this morning. Not supposed to be as hot as it was yesterday. Yesterday got to 86 degrees. I've done decks and porches before where the ground was so hard that you had to use my ice chisel. Like, you know, it's real heavy, it's about this wide. You see them pick through it to make a hole in the ice, and pick through the ground for a little while, then scoop it out, pick through it, scoop it out, where it will just take hours just to do one hole. This is a real easy dig. It's just a lot of holes, so it's still going to take time. I got other stuff I have to do today too, so I'll never get these done today. That's a problem there though. If you pick up a rock and you can't get this closed all the way, all the dirt falls out because it's so loose. There we go, one hole dug, 60 inches deep, and I put a 20-inch bell on the bottom of it. Well, I think I'll go inside. Lunch should almost be ready. Melissa's making tacos today. I got the 4 corners dug, so that's 4 down, 8 to go. Went down the same distance, but this corner must be the lowest right here, because in this one, that's the only one where I hit water. You can see, I don't know if you can see that, but yeah, there you can. Yep, so that's about where the water table is, right there. I was only going to do a couple, but then House of Hair came on the radio, and I like that radio program, so just been listening to good old hair band rock, digging holes. I'm just gonna pour a couple of these today. I wanted to get this one done for sure with a little bit of water in the bottom. So I'm not, you know, we get this a lot. Sometimes you'll have a foot of water in the bottom and then we suck it all out. If it's a lot of water, I've had it before where like we get a storm and it's full to the top. Then I got a pump that does, you know, a whole bunch of gallons a minute. Otherwise, when it's just a few inches to maybe 6 or 8 inches, we just use a wet dry vac and suck that out. Mainly because it has to be down to dry if an inspector's going to come. We don't have the inspector problem here, but they need to see it dry so they can see the bottom and everything. So I just wanted to get this in there so it doesn't fill up anymore. It didn't look like it was. Let's see, what other questions am I going to get? Why do I mix 2 bags and then 1 bag? It's way easier to mix, oh, it's made way easier just to mix 1 bag. Save a lot of time mixing 2 bags. If you put 3 in there, it gets hard to mix and more of a chance of when you're tipping the wheelbarrow losing it and it falling over because it gets so heavy. So just over the years we found that 2 bags is the way to do it. This concrete's been sitting in that front garage and it's never got wet, but it has so many bags sitting on top of it for so long that it's really compressed. Some of the jobs we do, we will put a sonotube in the hole and fill it all the way up to flush with the top and then put a bracket on there. But now with green treated being below ground, it's all safe. I'd prefer to do it this way. It's much easier than trying to fit that stupid, I can't tell you how many of those brackets that we put down onto the actual footing, and then you put a bolt, you drill a hole, you put a bolt in there, you tighten it down, but they never get, you can tighten them down enough so they just pull right out. I like doing it this way. I mean, the post will be in the ground 4 feet, sitting on top of a concrete pad. This is a fully legal way to do it. But I do like doing it like this, but when you get those real big ones where we've got, yeah, it'll take, usually with a 12-inch sonotube, if you're doing a 42-inch footing, which is what the minimum is down in the cities, and we usually would dig them to 48, it'd take 9 bags to fill it. And by the time you mix 9 bags of concrete, and if you have 20 footings, 9 times 20, you know with your garden hose, as every house is different with their water pressure, how many seconds you count the water to get it right. So every time you're not mixing and then adding water, mixing and adding water. After you get that concrete down in the hole, you want to make sure you grab something and tamp it. I just keep hitting it until it turns into like a mud pie. It brings the liquid up to the top, helps it self-level. Nothing worse, well, there's a lot of nothing worses, but when you're going to measure your 6x6 and you measure down and somebody didn't do this, so you've got real rough concrete down there, and then you're trying to measure off of a high point or whatever, and then once you get it down there and you're leveling it, you know, you might have to move it to the right or left or whatever, an inch, and it's sitting on those ridges so it doesn't slide. It's just so frustrating. So it's nice, once again, what you do in the beginning helps you out in the end. That looks pretty good. When I was a kid and I worked for my dad, we built these humongous houses, multi-million-dollar houses for this one builder. And, well, several builders, but this one in particular. When we would dig, like say the house was already in, or we built the house and we're going to put a front porch on it. So we have to dig, 4 or 5 footings across the front of the house. And he would have bags of concrete like this. And he would just take the bag without opening it, throw it down the hole, take the hose, run some water on it. He said, that's good. Go ahead and put the post on it. And that's what we did. Another question I'm sure will come up is, why don't I rent a cement mixer? Well, to the nearest rental place, it's about a 40-minute drive one way. So 40 minutes there, 40 minutes back, and that much time, I could mix all of these up. Plus, I'd have to mix them all and pour them all at the same time, because you're not going to keep it for more than one day. So it's just not worth it. Plus, it would cost money. Well, I got all the jackhammering is done in here. I was just going to do a little bit to see how it went, and then I just kept going and going. I don't want to see a jackhammer for a while, I can tell you that. And now everything in here is ready to dig. 5 holes are done, 7 more to go. I'm still digging holes. It's really weird. You know, most of these holes are 10 feet apart, 10, 11 feet, and the different layers that you go through, even differences from one hole to the other hole. I had one over there that I did earlier today where it had about this much, where it was too fine of dirt. It was like this stuff here, to for this to grab a hold of it. So I'd pull it up and it would slide out that bottom. And of course, then we had the one hole before where we hit water at the bottom. But this one here now, all of them have had like a thin layer of gravel that you go through with, you know, just rocks like this here and there. And this one here had about 12 inches of it. So you slam your post hole digger down in there and chink, it just hits a rock. Or if you grab the rock, since it's turning into this kind of sand, if it can't get completely closed, even when it's completely closed, it still has that hole in the bottom, but if a rock holds it open a little, everything falls out except for the rock. So I finally got through that, and then once you get through that, it's nice. I mean, that's nice sand right there. It really is. But yeah, this is so boring, but it's a hot day today too, but I wanted to get a bunch more done because tomorrow that first load of lumber is showing up. So I got a pretty busy day tomorrow though, outside of home, so with work, and I don't know how much I'll get done on this tomorrow. Want the 2x10s there, the 6x6 and the plywood, if he'll drive back, because he might just drop it in the driveway, I don't know. So we'll see. Okay everyone, well thanks a lot for watching. 10 holes dug, 2 more to go. I'm kind of rethinking, I believe it was this video earlier I talked about that center beam, dropping it down below the deck, which I might still do. It's nice for insulating straight through and everything, and less chance of a hump and everything, but there's another part of me that wants to raise it up and put it inside of the, just make it a flush beam so that I can put the kitchen on this side if I wanted to, and I can run the drain underneath everything. So I'm still thinking about that, but for right now it's just about 8 o'clock. I've had enough. I still have to put up a sign back there. I'm hoping that they can dump the lumber back here versus up front, but you know how they are when they deliver it. Sometimes they just will do like right in the driveway and that's it, so we'll see what happens. Anyway, it's coming along. Once the deck is on, the hard part is over. Whenever I break up concrete like this here, like we did yesterday, you know, the house was built in 1942, and I think this stuff was built at the same time, and which was rare back then because World War II was going on and not a lot of houses got built. But when you break up that concrete, that's the first time anybody's seen that dirt for, how many years is that? 42 to 2022. That's a long time. I always think, hope I would find something underneath there, you know, a coin or something, but get these 2 dug and all the digging is over. I will see you guys on the next video.